I've just been to a little meet that involved Cupra, the Spanish car brand in Perth, and JetCharge. Here's a recording of that event.
Right, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cameron. I'm the brand general manager here at Cupra in Perth. Before we start, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people. We'd like to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and contribution to this region as well. We'd like to thank the guys from JetCharge for coming across for this event and making this happen, and a special thank you to Shafer, who's the Cupra Australia Head of Product and Planning, who's flown over especially for the event as well. Thank you all to you guys for coming as well. It's good to see some owners and people who have orders in and people I'm meeting for the first time as well. So thank you all for coming today. Thanks to my phenomenal team, Kieran and Bridget here as well on the left, for kind of getting this all together and making this happen. We pretty much pulled this place apart to have some space and stuff as well. So thank you for their efforts too. What a whirlwind it's been since we opened on the 1st of August. It seems like so long ago, and it's only a few months. And I've probably aged a couple of years in the last few months, and I think the guys to my left have as well, and probably the guys from Cupra over, it's been a bit longer for them as well. Kieran's actually 17, but he's starting to get on a little bit. But it's been, it really for us has been a whirlwind of milestones and things to celebrate. And launching a brand new brand in this climate, the challenges that we've got going on globally has been a challenge, but it's also been exceptionally rewarding as well. I still remember the first time I heard of Cupra. It was less than 12 months ago. I still remember the first time I saw a Cupra online when I Googled it. I went, okay, that looks pretty cool. I've been in the industry for 15 years, so it takes a lot for a car to excite me, but it certainly did that. I remember the first time I saw it in the flesh in Barcelona, and in the bus from the airport, this one just drove past me. I'm like, well, I think that was it. And you see the tail light, and that's it. And probably specific to tonight's event, I remember the first time I sat in a Born, which I'm not sure if this is bad to admit. It was actually the first time I'd been in a fully electric car, and I wasn't really sure, and jumped in and went, wow, this is pretty special. We were doing drive events in Barcelona. We were driving through the mountains. I wanted to drive the VZX because it was 228 kilowatt and I'm a petrol head, and I also don't pay for petrol, so I probably don't really think too much about the economy. But then jumping in the hybrid was thinking, wow, this is very, very special. So personal milestones for me have been happening for a little while, and for the team, we've gotten to see, from the first event, it wasn't an event, it was with Cupra last one because it was before our official day, but we had a sneak peek for some pre-order customers and meeting the guys who believed in the product sometimes before we even knew about it. That was very special. First delivery was special. And then milestones, 50 orders, 100 orders, 150 orders. To the point now where we've taken over 180 orders in Perth, and probably even more exciting is that we've delivered over 80 customer vehicles since we've opened, which I think is phenomenal, and the team's doing a great job. And it's just so good every time we see those faces as we roll them out into driveways as well. So as far as nationally though, Cupra's hit some pretty big milestones since we've opened in Australia as well. Over 1,500 orders nationally since we've opened, over 900 customer deliveries, which in such a short space of time, I think is very, very encouraging. Today we actually did our first plug-in hybrid handover to Bevan, who I promised to embarrass. Bevan's sitting in the back there, so congratulations. Really cool to be able to do that today, especially since we're doing the JetCharge event. A funny story, Bevan and I have worked with each other for a long, long time. We know each other quite well. Bevan actually runs a company that does brand ambassador stuff and looks after a lot of our external displays. And one day I said to him, hey, why don't you take one of my hybrids down to this battery event that I've got going on and just stand there in a Cupra shirt and answer some questions. And he called me on the way back, and I said, how did it go? And he said, really, really good. I said, cool. He goes, I think I want one. And here we are today. He's driven one out the door. And, I'm biased. I think the product's fantastic, but he literally represents, 20, 30 brands throughout the year and wanted to buy a Cupra, which is pretty special for me as well. I think it's easy, though, when we're hitting these milestones and when we're going through as a new brand to forget what's coming in the future. And that's why today's event is so exciting. The mobility industry is going through huge change. We all know that, right? We've seen it coming, and it's getting stronger and it's gathering momentum. BEVs, alternate fuels, it's all happening, it's coming, and that's why a lot of you are here. And we are so close to seeing our first battery car in terms of the Born, due to be released next year, and we have some very exciting news at a local level coming very shortly on that, and Cupra Australia will make some announcements, which are pretty exciting in the coming days as well, which is good. As we go through changing such a major change, though, I'm truly blessed to be part of Cupra, part of a brand who looks at change the way that they do. Electrification is coming in vehicles. There's no doubt about that. But Cupra is a brand that refuses to have something that is just boring and electric for the sake of being electric. Right? They believe in something that is emotive, that drives passion. And I think anyone who's driven one of these cars would agree that they absolutely do that. So you probably see me get a little bit excited about the product. This is why. Like, I have been in this industry for so long, and there's never been a brand that's grabbed me the way that this brand does. And I'm sure any of you who own one, or will own one, or will even drive one, will agree with me as well. Reality is, though, that you're not here to hear me speak because these guys know a lot more. So I'm going to hand straight over to Jeff Shafer, Head of Product and Planning from Cupra, to run through some pieces. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Cam. I think you took a lot of my talking points, but I'll try to add a few things. Hopefully I won't do a death by PowerPoint sort of thing, but just a few things to take you through. I want to share a little bit about Cupra, the brand, some stuff specifically on plug-in hybrids, and a little bit on the electric future that we're moving towards. So first of all, thank you for coming tonight, and hopefully this is something where you can get some information, and we've got time for questions at the end. So Cupra's an interesting brand, very young. It was started only 4 years ago in Barcelona, Spain, and people thought that Cupra was a bit crazy. Like, why would you start a new brand? And we're part of the Volkswagen Group. There's a lot of great brands you probably know in that group: Volkswagen and Audi, Lamborghini and Bentley, and a lot of those names. But they're all brands that were created last century, and Cupra is really a brand about the next century. So we're a brand that has a very different way of viewing the world, and it's about taking some of those paths that are a little bit unconventional, a little bit risky maybe, but we really want to be a brand that's loved by a few people, maybe not liked by everybody. So in that way, we really want to be very focused in the product, in the brand, and what you can expect from Cupra. And a lot of that is from our Spanish heritage. Really, Barcelona is the kind of the beating soul of the company, and it's really about performance and style, really strong design, which you can see, of course, in the vehicles, and products that create emotion. So this is something I'll probably just keep banging on about, but even looking at the future, Cupra is a brand that's basically been born into an electrified world, and we're a brand that's very much about electric as the future. But the way that we see that future of electric driving is that we can take the emotion that you might have from your history in a combustion engine car, and we want to bring that joy of driving and that emotion, that color and vibrancy into the electric world. So there's other brands that are doing other things in the electric space, but Cupra really should be stimulating something when you're behind the wheel. And we're really proud to be joining the market here in Australia. We're here for the long haul. We've already made some partnerships with particularly the national teams in men's and women's soccer. Soccer did a wonderful job the last couple of weeks, and the Matildas have the World Cup here next year, so we're definitely looking forward to being a partner with them into the future. And looking at that joy of driving, that performance heritage, motorsport is also part of our DNA, but the motorsport that we're doing is in this electrified world. So the categories we're currently competing in is Extreme E. This is kind of an off-road rally type series, but it's gender balanced, so there's a male driver and a female driver that race together. It goes around the world actually to parts of the world that are experiencing effects of climate change, and they're also raising awareness through that series. It's quite exciting. I think it's on Channel 7 if you're interested. And then Pure ETCR, so it's an electric touring car series. I think we'll also have some news in a couple of days about some more electric motorsport. So this is our CEO, Wayne Griffiths, and kind of I guess a glimpse into this mindset that I'm talking about, which is the simple translation of what Muhammad Ali said was, if you never take a risk, you're never going to achieve anything. So this is what Cupra wants to do. We want to take risks and we want to push forward and not be afraid of failure in that regard. One of the things that we do differently is the experience we have here. It's the agency model. So we have great partners with Cam and the team here, but we're also directly involved with you, the customer. We think that it's a process that creates transparency for customers. You know what the price is, you know that the team's here to help you in your journey, not just to sell you something. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to talk about that later as well. But first, I just thought I'd share a video on kind of Cupra coming to Australia.
I'm really looking forward to this day. It's a real special day. We will have to work on delivering the uniqueness and sophistication of the format. With every single model that we bring to the market in the future, we will take a step ahead on this journey. If our performance in the last 4 years has been remarkable, now we want to go the next steps.
So it just gives you a little bit of a glimpse on the journey that we've taken to come here to Australia. And as Cam mentioned, it's only been a few months, but it seems like a much longer time. We launched with the 3 cars that you can see on the screen, kind of a traditional SUV in the Ateca, and then the Formentor and the Leon, which I'll talk a little bit more in terms of their both being offered in plug-in hybrid variants. So just looking at those 2 cars then, simple terms, plug-in hybrid, you've got 2 modes. You've got a full electric mode, and that's really great for your shorter journeys and your daily commutes. So with the Leon and the Formentor, you should get 45-50 kilometers of pure EV range when the car is charged up, which can be done overnight. And for the average Australian, in fact, the vast majority of Australians, their daily driving commute is far less than that. So it means that through the week, you've got a pure electric vehicle. But you also have the petrol hybrid system on board. So if you're going on a longer journey, and this is a big country, there's a lot of places to travel and see, you can also move the car into hybrid mode. That means you can drive without any range anxiety because you can just refill at your traditional petrol station. So this offers both of those modes. I would emphasize that it's either an electric mode or a hybrid mode. There's no mode where the battery is just discharged and you're just running on the engine. It's always in a hybrid mode, even when the battery's been used up a bit. And there's a lot of ways to set your preferences in which mode is in use, but it will always default, in fact, to the EV mode. This is basically how it works. It's basically a combination of a petrol engine with a full electric system. Both of those cars are 180 kilowatts. So again, we're bringing the performance and that fun to drive feeling into this space. 400 newton meters, a lot of torque as well. So it really has that, oomph, that push in the back. Battery size is only about 10 kilowatt hours in the usable sense. I'll talk about Born in a minute, but Born is 77 usable, so a big difference in the battery size. But in this application, because you're really looking at that daily commute, you can go with that smaller battery. As I said, real-world usage is probably 45-50 kilometers for these cars, and fuel consumption under 2 liters per 100, which is excellent. Quite simply, then you have these three components in the driveline. So you've got your combustion engine up front, and sitting between that and the gearbox is an electric motor. And then the gearbox is obviously transmitting power to the road through the vehicle. So the car can operate with just that electric motor or the engine driving through that system. And the battery, as I said, it's a 12.8 kilowatts gross, but more like 10.4 net. Sits in the back of the vehicle, so really from a packaging standpoint in the cabin, you don't have any difference to the standard cars. There's an onboard e-manager system, which is how you can choose your preferences. As I said, it always defaults to EV mode, but if you want to go straight into hybrid mode, you can select that. You can choose to actually ask it to hold a certain state of charge in the battery. If you want to save some for the end of your trip, for example, you're going to sneak home at night. You can set it into a recharging mode as well. So you can control that, but if you don't want to control that, the system can take over. It can do the hard work for you. It'll start out in EV mode, and at a certain point, it'll switch over to hybrid mode if you've used up that battery. And charging is really simple. It's 4 steps. On these cars, we've got the flap on the front left fender. You just push the flap to open it up, plug that cable in. You'll see the light start to blink as it makes a connection. And then after the charging's underway, basically to remove it, you just unlock the car. When the plug is in the car, there's actually a lock so that somebody can't come and just take it out. It's easy to charge a car. Cupra born, I know some of you might be interested particularly in this model. So this is our first pure EV coming very, very soon. So this car is 100% electric. Like I said, it's a much larger battery. 77 kilowatt hours is the usable battery size. And that means that the car will have 511 kilometers of range at a standard level. So it's quite a strong range. The charging is 11 kilowatts on AC or up to 170 kilowatts in DC, which again is quite a lot. Got a lot of information coming out probably in the next week or so about the car, but and the car is actually in production right now. So we'll see this car in showrooms. We're planning for March next year. Cars for test drives and those sorts of things, and then delivery shortly thereafter. But we're hoping to open up pre-orders in the next month or so. It has a really high level of specification in all the safety equipment you'd expect. There's driver's assistance features like autonomous braking and lane keeping assist. But again, in keeping with that Cupra vision of electric motoring, you know, these really sporty seats, these are standard. It's made out of a material called sequel. Basically, what that is the company takes like pet bottles out of the Mediterranean and turns it into a synthetic yarn to make that cloth seat. So it's all recycled material. The copper wheels, and there's 19 inches standing on the car, so it's a really kind of signature part of Cupra, and progressive steering as well. So again, a very sporty interpretation of the electric world, lots of color, lots of motion. Looking forward to this greatly. But that's only the first real step into that full world of electric. And Cupra's looking to be fully electric by the end of the decade. So that's not that long away. Recently in Barcelona, we previewed the next generation of cars. These are coming around 2025. And we've got this car on the back. It's the Terramar. It's the last car that we'll ever launch with any form of combustion engine. It'll be a plug-in hybrid, but the other two are full electric, and from that point forward, that's all we'll be bringing to market. So we've got the Tavascan, it's a medium SUV, just announced recently to go into production next year in China. And then we've got the Urban Rebel, which is probably my favorite. It's going to be something that really takes electric into a whole new space, and just share a little bit about that. So we're really excited about all of these cars coming out. This one in particular for me, I'm super looking forward to. It'll be built in Montreal in our headquarters factory, just in Barcelona, and bring electric into a whole new part of the market, I think. So that's enough for me. I'll be around for questions. I'm sure you've got plenty, but I'd like to invite Mark from JetCharge and really thank them for coming today to support this event.
Thank you, Jeff. How do I follow that up? Thank you to Cameron and the team. What a fantastic venue and pull this together, and done an absolutely sensational job. And thank you for having us along tonight, along with my colleague Sean Henderson, who's up the back. So afterwards, if there's any questions about charging, we're certainly happy to have a chat with you and talk about it. Really exciting stuff, and sensational to see the proliferation of the pure electrics coming on stream, and of course the current plug-in hybrids as well. So let's talk a little bit about charging. We'll do our best to try and address your questions toward the end as well, and we're certainly happy to do our best in answering those for you. So at JetCharge, what we do, we fuel EVs, where we make the things go, and of course what we're here to do is to lower those barriers just to make it easier for low emissions transport, and that's what we do in our daily business. And we're of course super excited, thrilled to be partnered with Cupra, and we've been working with Cupra in the background for quite some time on obviously the Australian launch, and as their charging partner, our CEO Tim Washington is obviously joyed to be working with Cupra as a part of the VW group. Obviously the vehicles that you've just seen and the ones coming to market in a few years' time, we're really looking forward to the journey with the team. So a little bit about JetCharge in terms of what we do. 130 people across Australia. We're the biggest dedicated EV infrastructure company. We deal with everything from building public EV infrastructure to government fleets to corporates, and of course we put chargers in for mums and dads and consumers. So we do the full gamut, including taking care of your own installation. So if you buy a Cupra, we can handle the charger for you and we can install it and complete that part of the customer journey for Cupra. We have lots of hardware, and we're going to touch on that in a moment. But really it's about being fit for purpose. The right charger we match for the right car and for the right customer, and that's really, really important. Technology, we're also manufacturers. We are based in Australia, so we manufacture a lot of equipment here in Australia to support a lot of the other global technology companies. So we make things like credit card readers for EV chargers for the public highways. We make all sorts of supporting technology in Australia to help us deliver the infrastructure that we need for moving forward with EVs out in the public domain and how we're optimising buildings for EV charging. Our CEO is also the chair of the Electric Vehicle Council in Australia, so we do a lot of research projects, we do a lot of community work, and to advance the industry as a whole. We've been going for almost 10 years. Surprisingly, we started in partnership with Tesla because back then Tesla didn't have showrooms, bought it online, and they also didn't know about chargers. So that's how the business started, and we are in fact now the partners for over 25 car brands in the market because of the strength of us being that bridge between the automotive world and the electric world. And I think our team of 130 odd is growing and doubling every year pretty well. So we're going from strength to strength across the country, into New Zealand as well. So we're really excited about that. So a bit of charging 101 tonight. It's not going to be too technical, but just to give you a little bit of background on how you charge, how fast you can charge, and the different types of charging as well. And it was already covered by Jeff before, but obviously we've got the two types of electric vehicles, the pure battery and of course the plug-in hybrid, and that was covered quite well before. And this probably gives you a little bit of a dive under the hood in terms of the fact that EV batteries do work in DC. So just like your little batteries you buy at the supermarket for your remote control inside there, it's the same type of battery that goes into an electric vehicle. So what that means is that if we use an AC charger, and that's the chargers you'll see around the garage here today, and typically what you'd use at home, that goes through an onboard charger that's inside the car, or an inverter. DC charging, you can see, plugs straight into the battery. So that's why DC charging is generally a bit faster and a bit higher in capacity, and we'll talk around how that works. So AC charging, typically with Cupra, you can use the AC variety for home. And again, feel free to come up and talk to us about some of the chargers we've got on the wall, and you can see the one with the blue flashing lights over there. That's the Wallbox Pulsar Plus up there. Or you could use a portable charger that plugs into your power point at home, which will be a bit slower. And we'll share with you how fast they work in a moment. Just from a technical standpoint, the silver box here is one of those inverters that go inside the car. So that's converting the AC electricity into DC before it goes in the battery. Now, cars have different sizes of those inverters, and that is what determines how fast that car charges. So it's not just about the charger. It's not about how much power you have at home. It's actually about this box. That can determine how quickly you can charge. They start from the 3.6 kilowatt variety and go right up to 22 kilowatts in the AC chargers. So the Cupra was touched on before. In the plug-in hybrids has 3.6 kilowatt and the 11 kilowatt for the pure battery volume coming through soon. Let's talk about DC charging though, and these are generally the larger chargers you'd find in the public spaces and some commercial sites. These are quite expensive, these chargers. They take a lot of power to run them. But the advantage is if you have a pure battery electric like the Born, you can take advantage of the DC charging. Just to be clear, because of the smaller battery inside the plug-in hybrids, there's not really any need to use the ultra-rapid chargers in the DC variety. So under charging at home, as was touched on before, around about 50 k's a day is what the average commute is across the capital cities. And the plug-in hybrid, I drive a plug-in hybrid, and I think in a year I have filled up that car with petrol 3 times. And what was quite sad is last time I filled it up, the car started telling me I had to use up the petrol because it was going stale. So it goes to show that, and I'm on the road a lot, that most of the time running on the battery and the petrol just becomes that extra bit of confidence if you are going further. And obviously in Western Australia, getting out and about, that's not a bad thing. Of course, with the AC charger, that'll add around about 16 kilometres of range per hour using one of the chargers on the road that you can see there. With the Born, when it comes through though, we can increase that up to around about 65 kilometres an hour. So you definitely get that lift in the charging rate. The Wallbox chargers. Wallbox is also from Spain, and we're proud to distribute Wallbox in Australia, and of course install them too. And they're the charger of choice for Cupra, and you do have that beautiful European quality about the charger. It can go inside and outside, it'll stand up to the weather. You can use your solar with an added option up feature if you want to. So during the day, take the sun shining, and why wouldn't you in WA? You've got some cable length options depending on where it's going in the garage. We have versions for commercial or residential, and they've got a really nice app as well. And importantly, these chargers actually do subscribe to what we call the global smart charging standard. And why that's important is in some situations, We need to do things like energy management. You may have your charger at work and you might end up with lots of chargers. So we can do some very flexible things with the energy. The two popular chargers that we generally use with Cupra are the Pulsar Plus, very, very compact. It's one of the most compact AC chargers in the world. They can go on a bollard as well. Natively, they do go on the board. We've also got the Commander 2, and you'll see some of them around the garage with the touchscreen. It does give you a little bit more telemetry up on the screen rather than opening the app on your phone. And you have things like PIN code. So, for example, I had a business that wanted to put it at the front, and they just wanted to restrict that use to their staff, so they put a PIN code on it without having to carry a fob to open the charger. A few unique benefits there. But what about charging in public? And of course, again, we've got the two variants of AC and DC out in the public. The Born, as mentioned, can use both AC and DC chargers. You've got that luxury. And of course, the plug-in hybrids, you can use quite a number of the AC chargers that are spread throughout the metro and some regional areas as well. The great news is that Sean and myself are very busy at the moment because we're delivering the electric vehicle highway for the state government. And this is a fantastic project, an absolute vote of confidence by the state government for the community to be able to take EVs further and travel over this great state. So we've got 98 chargers spread over 49 locations. It is, we believe, the single longest electric vehicle project in the world as a single project. And it is just the beginning of more chargers that will come into the metro area and of course into regional WA, promoting corporate investment and more government work in the future. So there's a combination of chargers out there. We've got rapid DC chargers up to 150 kilowatt. We've got AC chargers, so the plug-ins can use them. And we've got credit card terminals and so on. And this is spread over the next 18 months, with the first chargers going into the Midwest in about 3 weeks' time. So it's quite exciting. And you can also use the ChargeFox service to pay for charging as well. Speaking of which, how do you pay for chargers? How do you search for those public chargers out there? So one of the common apps you can put on your phone is PlugShare. It's kind of like the Facebook for EV charging. If you like, you can message, you can find where chargers are, no matter what platform they're sitting on. So if something's publicly available for use, chances are they'll be sitting on PlugShare. ChargeFox, of course, is probably Australia's largest station management system, and you can use the ChargeFox app on your phone to unlock the charger. You can pay for that via your ChargeFox account, and that's typically how most people use chargers. And of course, as I mentioned before, credit card is also starting to become a little bit more popular in Australia on how we pay. Now, we touched on charging times before. To put it into some context with the type of chargers you might have. So if we talk about Leon and the fermenter here, we've got your standard portable charger. That's about the slowest charger that you do get. But, you know, overnight, 6 hours, you'll top up the car to 100%, no problem at all. Still drive out in the morning with a full battery. If you had one of our friends, the Pulsar Plus here, on a single phase connection, that would take it up to 4 hours, down 4 hours, I should say, a little bit faster. And equally for the fermenter as well. So that's using the 3.6 kilowatt onboard charger, AC. So you just get that bit of extra convenience as well. People go, why would I put a wall mount charger as opposed to the standard portable one? And I guess you can take advantage of smart charging using solar as an example. And that optimization where you can have the charger purely running off the solar, and some very, very neat things. In the future, you may buy an upgrade to the Born or another pure battery electric in the future. You've got the confidence of that faster charger ready to go. Speaking of the Born, Of course, it does have the bigger converter on board, or onboard charger at 11 kilowatts, and of course the DC charging power advantage. And you can see here, we've got some various sizes of chargers. And as you can see with the rapid DC charging, which, as I discussed before, is what you find often in the public charging and the EV highway we just spoke about, you can see there, 25 minutes to get the car up to 80%. That's pretty good. Back at home with the AC charging, this is really where it starts to make a difference, and why, again, you would go and put a charger on the wall as opposed to the portable charger. You can see there 32 hours to get the car to 100%. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't call that a great driving experience. And this is probably our own fault and probably the industry, but we still get people today who have bought a vehicle, not a Cupra, that will say, my car is taking 32 hours to charge. There's something wrong with the charger or something wrong with the car. And it's unfortunate that some other car brands are not educating their dealership staff on the charging experience. So they haven't been told about home chargers, wall chargers, faster chargers, and they're sitting at 32 hours. And what have I bought? So you can see 11, 7 hours depending on the connection really can make that difference and bring it back to the overnight charging experience for you. So that was pretty well it for me. I think if there's any questions, definitely happy to answer those. We'll call that now or approach us after, whatever works for you.
I hope you found that interesting. I actually learnt a couple of things from that. The Cupra Born, their BEV, is due out very soon. It should be in Perth by March next year. Will cost about 60,000. It's going to look like quite a nice vehicle. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, click that like and subscribe buttons down below, and I'll see you all very soon.